Welcome, everybody. I am extremely grateful and very excited to talk to Eric Mabius. You know him, you love him as Oliver O'Toole. Welcome to the program, Eric.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. I know you don't do a lot of these, so I really appreciate you doing mine. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I've heard so many good things. I'm happy to be a part of the lexicon now that so many other members of the cast have gotten a chance to sit down and chat with you. Zach sent me some really wonderful excerpts from what you guys did. I guess that was in the last few weeks.
Yeah. Less than 2 weeks ago, he was on. Absolutely. Zach is great. So is Crystal and Kristen. Jeff, I had a chance to talk to almost a year ago. Jeff, come on back so we can talk some more.
Okay.
The whole cast is wonderful. I'm blessed having talked to you guys. As it's become a custom, as soon as even before I said that you were coming on, people were already telling me that, hey, where's your design for Eric? You have to have a design for Eric because I do design for all of the things. So there's the postables
So
design.
great. Look at that. That's so cool. And that's a nice big handle. You can't find
Yeah,
mugs with handles that are large enough.
I'm a huge fan. I know you like drinking tea. I love tea, so I can't just have a small 11 ounce mug. I have to have a good mug that I can hold on to 15 ounces. So for every guest that's been on, not Jeff, not yet, that I've gotten them designed. So I had to create a design for you as well.
That's so
And
great.
it took me a little while, but here's yours.
Wow, that's so fantastic. Look at that.
So it
Wow.
uh, it has your initials,
So
EM,
great.
of
Yes,
course,
I see that. I see.
and
Great.
it's
Hmm.
something that I thought kind of would combine you and Oliver in the way that you look at life. So every day is a miracle, and we proud of that one.
It's true, especially this day and age. I feel fortunate to have my slice of heaven here because I almost forget that the world is a bit upside down these days until I venture out and
Yeah,
I'm reminded.
it's true. Well, you are in your little slice of heaven. In well, can we say? I think Postables know where or approximately where you live, at least the
Oh,
state, correct?
yeah, I'm in Massachusetts. Yeah.
All right. So beautiful, beautiful area. It's if I had a chance to move somewhere, I think me personally, in terms of nature and personality, I'm a New Englander. That's more my style. So maybe one day I'll move out there.
That's so great. Yeah, it's a pretty special place. There's just so much space here and raw beauty. You never feel like unless you're in New York or Boston, you never feel like the walls are sort of closing in any season really. So
Beautiful.
you, I actually do. I had forgotten because I spent so many years in California. I'd forgotten what it was like to be here for all four seasons, and this long COVID break has allowed me to experience things that I hadn't before. I do this sort of time travel jump. I'll come back for a few weeks and then jump, and I come back and it's another season, and so on and so forth. But it's really I feel much more calm and lack of a better word, censored in getting to see the shifts happening. I do. California is so great. I mean, being able to plant year round is such a wonderful byproduct of the weather, but it's just one long season, sort of.
Respect.
It's sometimes cloudy and it's sometimes sunny, and that's pretty much the season. Which in 10 or 15 years, I might not mind that so much, but at least for now, I don't mind shoveling snow, and cutting trees.
Yeah, you can go. I know you go jogging, 3 to 4 times a week up in the mountains. So that'll be a lot more difficult in California.
Well, actually, no. I lived in Topanga Canyon. I mean, that's how I lasted so many years. I could run right out along the ridge line, right out my front door, which was really great. I lived in a very remote part of town, so I'd go down and do my business in the city, and then fly away back home and hide out and plant and do my thing. Yeah.
That's nice. I stand corrected on that one then.
it's nice work if you can get it. I mean, it's part of LA that not that many people know about, but it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, and hopefully, keeping fingers crossed, more and more things are opening up. Here in Chicago, I've been getting regular auditions, so I know in New York, LA, and north of the border in Toronto, Vancouver, things are starting to hop. So knock on wood.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I just recorded an audition last week, and the wonderful byproduct of COVID is that nobody really meets in person anymore. There's a good and a bad aspect to that, but being able to record yourself no matter where you are is pretty spectacular, I have to say. Yeah. I mean, I don't imagine it, regardless of the state of the virus, I don't imagine it's going to go back to in person so much. I really don't, because it's in the end it's more efficient for everyone, I think.
I agree. Casting directors are busy as is. It's much easier for them to have an associate take a look at the self tapes than
Yeah.
have people in the office. I agree. I miss coming to the office because I want to, when I'm in the room, I want to feel that energy. I want to be able to connect with the reader, who sometimes is a great reader. That part I'm missing, but the ability to, there's my camera. This is where I tape, right? So this is just the banner for the show. Otherwise, this is where I do my self tapes. It's all great.
You got it all down. You're ready to rock, huh? That's so great.
And my agent and postables. I'll get to all of your questions in a second. But, acting talk. My agent, I have one of my funny headshots. It's this guy. So they love that. And they've been sending me out to all sorts of great commercial auditions for these goofy, funny characters that I completely am in love with. So I've been doing a lot of those, and that's been making me very happy.
That's so great. Good for you. Fantastic.
Okay, on to postables, on to signed seal delivery. I will not be asking you anything about 11. There are no spoilers ahead, guys. You can watch freely. We all will see it on the 17th. We don't need to know anything up front.
When you say 11, do you mean 12?
Isn't it technically 13? But yeah.
But I think they're referring to it as 12. Anyway, I was like, I didn't know what you meant by 11. I'm like, we can talk about To the Altar all you want. That's fine. Sure. Or
Sure.
is it called To the Altar? Is that what it's called?
Yes, To the Altar is the previous one. It was great. I really enjoyed it. We can talk about that. But, the new film that's coming out on the October 17th. Will not ask you anything about it. We'll all see it and discuss heavily.
Ask all kinds of general questions if you'd like. I'm thinking about doing actually a next day. I might do it on Patreon. I'm not sure. A Q&A, a live stream.
That would be great after the fact. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, because I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. Again, the general question I would have for you for this one is, it's been a while since you got in Oliver's suits and Oliver's skin. So did it take you a minute to get back to feeling Oliver, or it was something that you're very familiar with and could step into?
I think this newest movie is unique because Martha has had. There are several different iterations of this, from what she had submitted initially, the kinds of themes that the executives were going for, and time to consider and think about this. This is the most considered script, I believe, that she's done. I don't mean to speak for her, but she has had time to fine tune this in a way that she hasn't the others, and sort of inhabiting these characters, I think, because we have so much invested as people and as actors after 8 years, I really felt like the scenes could act themselves. And we brought so much excitement and anticipation. There was really no lag time between us showing up and for me, the process is the read through, because you spend time preparing before you get to Vancouver, preparing in your mind's eye how you would most like each scene to go. You sit down, you have the read through, and then it sort of locks it in, like you have a fish on the end of a hook, and you are not going to stop until it's all finished. And there's I find it hard to sleep when I'm shooting because my engine is revving the whole time, and there's really no break. It's sort of one long day when we're shooting, and so that's why I can see, which is why I don't watch myself really perform much, because as the production goes on, I look more and more tired because I'm not. It's sort of like I'm resting my engine, but it's not really turned off, you know. But no, it was not. It wasn't hard to jump right back in. In fact, we really wanted to just keep going on to the next project. That's the next number 13 or 14 or 15 or all the rest. So hopefully we achieve the numbers that the network deemed necessary to continue, but that's really what things are about.
Yeah. So there's a will for everybody involved to continue shooting as long as the numbers are there and Hallmark approves it?
I have no idea. I won't pretend to understand the decisions or the decision-making process that goes into deciding, but in a time where, certainly at one point, there was a reckoning. People, a lot of television was lopsided. It was not inclusive enough, and I think people are starting to make adjustments. And I think um, Hallmark, like any other network, has had to make adjustments. And the wonderful thing about being involved with Martha is that this is something she always has done, even back to um, Touched by an Angel and before that. I mean, Della Reese was the cornerstone of that show, and we have always had an inclusive cast and storyline, and rather than it just being part of the zeitgeist or any part of something that's initiated necessarily, this is just what has come organically from Martha's writing, and this movie is no exception.
That's wonderful. And again, everybody loves it. And you don't have to kind of make major jumps. I know some of the Hallmark shows have to. With Signed, Sealed, Delivered, you're already there. You just continue on.
Yeah, and that's what's great. That's a wonderful byproduct.
Mhm.
If I can say that about COVID, that people have found their way to the show in continuing numbers. It's been this sort of um, blossoming lotus, that there are more and more people coming to Facebook, and more people discovering the show because it stands above a lot of programming, because there's real heart there. There's real um, artistry in Martha's writing. There are really funny characters, and there are topics that we tackle that a lot of shows don't, without being heavy-handed or seeming sappy or too on the nose or too trite, or trying to wrap things up in a neat little button every 99 minutes of a movie. And I think that our show really has checked the boxes and continues to check the boxes. That's why we've dedicated 8 years of our life to the show, and why we spend so much time on social media. I'm still not that great at it, but I was a dinosaur when it came to all this, and fortunately, I'm sort of learning as I go.
So a bit of an Oliver and Eric, from their perspective, then technology-wise, anyway.
Well, I just don't, I just simply don't like sitting in front of a screen. I mean, I guess that's a similarity to Oliver, but I'd rather get my hands dirty than Oliver's a bit more antiseptic than and I like to swear a whole lot more than Oliver does, and it's hard to wear three-piece suits every day, or really during COVID times at all. But I do miss, certainly playing a character like Daniel Meade. Really, I became enamored of a finely cut suit, and it's fun to have Val Halverson as our costume designer, and it's really been such a fun process working fine tuning Oliver's dress, and each scene that we shoot is how is the scene going to happen? Am I outside? Do I wear the jacket? And if I'm wearing the jacket, do we see the
Mhm.
vest? Do I wear a vest? And if I'm wearing a vest, do I wear a pocket watch? It's like this domino effect of all the things that have to be considered. Am I behind the desk? Is it first thing in the morning? Do I have my jacket off yet? Are my sleeves up? Are my cufflinks on? Or, it's there's so much that goes into the process. And for all of us, I don't mean to say that but it's funny when sometimes when we have to jump back into our trailers and change, um, Crystal or Kristen take a dress off and put a dress on. Not that it's simple, but I have like 15 pieces to take off and put on. It's not easy, and the suits are cut so tight. Sometimes I have to, it's a long way down to put your shoes on sometimes.
Yeah. How much input do you have into the clothing choices, into those suits?
Oh, it's entirely a collaborative process. I mean,
Hmm.
Val, at this point, Val knows what we like, and so we show up to a fitting, and there's a whole rack of things, and she sort of lets us, she sort of has a palette in mind, and we sort of go scene by scene, and things that jump out at me, and things that we can decide, agree that will not work. So it's yeah, an extremely collaborative process. I'd say I mean, Val does all the hard work of imagining and procuring the suits and pinning them and sending them off and getting the tailoring done. It's it's like I said, it's an entirely collaborative process. No, it's not like I show up and I'm told what to wear.
Good.
It's definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no fun.
Oliver's
What
suit.
would the fun be in that? I mean, if you do like a big network show, you show up and they're like, "Do you want this charcoal black or do you want this slightly more gray?" And that's, I mean, there's no, or even sometimes you don't even get that choice. Here's what you're wearing.
Yeah. In my case, at this point in my acting career, I'm the one that supplies the suits. So, yeah.
Sometimes
But
it's easier. You know what you like and you know what fits you.
that's true.
Yeah.
Oliver's
So I
suit.
still do. Well, I think it's every project's different. I did a pilot with my writer director buddy. I mean, I had to go to Salvation Army and do a bunch of shopping because it was a
Yeah.
character that is so unlike me and a wardrobe that I wouldn't possess. So anyway.
Oliver's suits and the car. Initially, as I started watching, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, that part confused me a bit because it's expensive suits, it's Jaguars. First there's one, then you have another. Uh, Looks like James Bond. You actually reminded me of Roger Moore. That was my first impression of Oliver with all of that, and I thought, okay, that's interesting. He must be from money, and then we realized no, not necessarily. He wasn't for money. So my question is, in the background, did Martha ever explain of how Oliver is able to afford all of these luxuries on a postman's salary?
Um, well, you watched all the movies because there's a
I did.
huge storyline about the father who left me all that.
Later, but that's later.
Okay, so that coupled with the reality is we create the artifice, but a Jaguar,
Yeah.
a vintage Jaguar, they're not expensive at all.
Oh, okay.
So
Didn't
they
know
look nice,
that. Yeah.
and they're always in the shop because they are one of the most unreliable vehicles out there, which is another great behind the scenes. I don't know if we talked about that. Most of the time, the Jaguar didn't work. We would push it into frame. I mean, you notice it's usually static for a reason because it just wouldn't run. Yeah, so I hate to tear down your James Bond edifice, but yeah, that's sweet. And yes, he it's a beautiful looking car. It looks like a piece of sculpture, but they are not expensive. And I always this is true for dresses or suits as well. I believe that the suit doesn't have to be expensive, just well tailored.
Right.
So the suits that I wear, they're really not that expensive. I mean, we can't break the budget.
That's true.
Um, I don't get to wear. I mean, there some of them are designer names certainly, but
Mm.
but it's really you could take a mediocre, or I shouldn't say mediocre, an inexpensive suit and make it look like a very expensive suit based upon the tailoring.
That's true. Very good point. Thank you for answering that question. The other question that I haven't heard of asked, maybe because it's moronic, but I notice these things and it matters to me, so I wanted to ask it. Uh, Especially in the beginning, there were many shots of Oliver with the shirt kind of pulled up a bit, so you see the forearms. Your forearms are huge. So was there any research and kind of market study of we need to show Oliver's forearms as many times as possible because it works for the audience?
They are not huge. I don't know why you have that impression, but thank you if that is meant as a compliment.
It is.
That is something that I used to get made fun of in grade school. They would call me Popeye because Popeye has those weird forearms. It's really not. It's just the way the package came when it came out into the world. It's not really. I mean, I work in the yard, um, and and I just have to. There's a mosquito flying around. It's driving me crazy. It just is. It's not something that I really work at, but I can't be idle. And living in the woods, I don't want to be. I have to cut the wood to fill that beautiful fireplace on the other side. You can't see. Actually, there's it's a two-sided fireplace. This is an old hip height cook oven. I don't know if you can see the fire brick, and on the other side, this is the fire brick. So that's a kitchen oven actually, and there's a big massive fireplace on the other side. So to get back to your question, we were just trying to create
Yeah.
levels other than just, oh, he's in a suit again, and also to denote being behind his desk, getting down to business, everyone, different stages. Like I was saying, he comes in the office. Sometimes I'll take off the jacket first thing, and to show passage of time so that someone who's tuning in can understand that there's variation. And also, it's hot, and being in a suit all the time,
Yeah.
it's and a vest, and having a noose around your neck. The necktie it's a lot. It really is. That's why when we did the travel episode, it was so liberating to have an open collared shirt for a change.
Yeah.
The dress down travel Oliver was a lot of fun for me. So no edict about getting in a certain number of forearm shots.
Listen, for me, it was motivating because I bought these
Okay.
and they're at my desk. So for me, this is what I do when I sit and work and I take a break because my package didn't come that way. I have thin bones, so it's all trying to work on it and get it to where I like it. So
Well, that's
okay,
good. That's good for hand strength, and that's
yeah,
good for stress release. I have those in the car when I'm in traffic. They're a wonderful lightning rod to relieve the tension.
yeah. Um, Another thing that I wanted to ask you, and I'll get to a few more SSD questions, but Signed, Sealed, Delivered is obviously the show that we all love on Hallmark. There are others like Good Witch, and in season 3, episode 10, I almost expected Oliver to walk in and say, "I know this isn't Denver. I know this isn't Colorado. I know this is Illinois. But Abigail Pershing, here's your delivery." Because they actually did in that episode. There is a person like Oliver that comes in and delivers a lost package hand in hand to a character. I thought it's Hallmark. Why not do a crossover? Was there any talk about that before?
No, uh,
Okay.
I love that you think that the shows coordinate that specifically, but no, I think everyone is. We're just trying to make our shoot days, and that would be great. But I don't. There really is no crossover in the
There
shows.
is, yeah.
Part of the problem is our seasons are different. The standalone movie structure is different than serial television.
Mhm.
It doesn't lend itself to, especially when they're shooting 27 episodes a season. It's a little different.
But they did at least
That
have
is
the,
funny. I hear great things about the show,
yeah.
but I have never watched. I should. Is it still on? It's still on.
It just ended its run. They were on for 13 years between the movies and the show. So the season 7 ended its run now, and there's a campaign to bring it back and to get season 8 made. So keeping my fingers crossed for that one because I like it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I sorry I haven't watched it. There's so many things that I haven't watched. I don't get a chance to watch all of our episodes as well. I mean, it's. I mean, when I did Ugly Betty, I did. We had such a schedule. I think I've maybe seen a quarter to a third of the episode. So anyway,
Do you like watching yourself? I know you mentioned too that you don't like watching yourself on screen. So is it for films, series, anything in general?
I don't really like watching when I'm doing what I'm doing. I have to give faith over to the director
Yeah.
and the people that I'm doing the scenes with, and Martha, specifically to this show, and Martha's choices in the editing room. But going back is hard for me because I may not agree with choices that are made that I make, or editing choices, or a whole host of minutia that get into my head that rob me of having a pure experience in the viewing. It's not my ego per se. It's more about, it's always a work in progress doing the scenes. There's no one right answer. Uh, but I get flooded with what if this, or how about, and it's yeah. So no, not so much. I mean, there's certain,
Uh,
I like to tune in for certain scenes. Like I wanted to, I think it's Higher Ground, where I have my sort of Jimmy Stewart, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington moment. I think it was Higher Ground. The uh,
uh,
the soldier
no,
that
that
works
was
kind of.
before Higher Ground. Yeah, that was
Um,
before. Yeah,
I
Higher Ground is the Denver, the Mile
yeah,
High.
right, yeah, no. Home again. It's Home Again. Is it Home Again? We're trying to.
No,
Anyway,
Home Again is the Vaz. It's a few
you
before.
can edit this out. That's fine. That's fine. You can edit this out. It's it's over 40 hours of television, so I'm sorry
I,
that
no,
um it's one movie in my head. So anyway,
no.
but anyway, so I'll watch certain scenes to see how it landed, and that was just such an emotional movie. And I'm the first generation to not serve in the military, and my great uncle was a POW in World War II and survived. He was, wow, the youngest in his entire battalion. He was shot down over Prussia and served a year and a half. He had his 19th and 20th birthdays. Um, so that was specifically a very important episode for me. Um, Sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but anyway.
No, that's beautiful because I was going to ask you which was out of the episodes or out of the scenes which was to you kind of very relevant and personally interesting. So
I mean, that's what's great about Martha's writing. Sometimes I mean, she at different times she's asked each of us very specific questions when she's trying to fine tune scenes or fill something out about our character's past, and sometimes she'll weave real life stories that we've shared with her, which brings it compels us to have a level of um, engagement that few projects ever have. So each time that happens, we become more of us gets dedicated to what we're doing. I don't know. It's hard. It's a very emotional thing. It's hard to put into words, but yeah, I did some work for the USO and in going to visit um, the soldiers in Guantanamo Bay. It was really, I didn't serve, and I don't have guilt for that per se, but serving in whatever capacity I can and spending time uh, in Guantanamo Bay and just getting the soldiers to tell their stories was really it was an important process for me as well because I grew up with my family. They don't really talk about things once they come back from war. It's not something that's really discussed. Just like my great uncle, he would never talk about what he went through. It was actually the Red Army that liberated that camp, which
Hmm.
was which was kind of amazing because as Germany fell back and the Russians pushed through, the Russians were the people that liberated the Americans in that prison camp. It was called Stalag Luft One. It was one of the earlier ones. But anyway,
Well, again, I traverse both. I was born in the former Soviet Union, so I came to the U.S. at the age of 14. So I heard war stories from all of my family. So my grandfather was in the war, grandmother, all of them, and my parents were little kids that had to be evacuated. I think they were 4, 5, 6 years old, had to go all over the country to get away from the German army. So the war was a constant kind of reminder. But you're right; they don't talk very specific. It's just, hey, some things they bring up and then it goes away. So I'm glad that the Red Army did something something
yes,
nice for your family as
and
well.
not a sentence you hear very often.
Yes, absolutely. Um, in terms of the as we wrap up, because I know you're busy, you have travel to do. Um, when you were making Signed, Sealed, Delivered, at which point did you kind of realize that, hey, this is making a huge impact on the community of people who are watching it? When was this? Do you have a recollection of that?
Um, I think it was probably when I started to access social media.
Mhm.
That was really the time because I didn't have any real way to sort of generally interact with what was going on, and starting to live tweet during the shows. It really brought it to the forefront, and I enjoy that, the back and forth and the questions and the things that occur to people when in the moment of the airing. And I don't know. I think it was fairly early on. We knew we were. I mean, it's Martha's writing. We knew we were a part of something that was really special. And when we shifted from the 2 hour format to the 1 hour, we thought, wow, this is going to be interesting, especially because it's trying to wrap up a storyline in 40 whatever minutes. It's an entirely different challenge. That's why, in some ways, I mean, I love the constancy of series like that, 1 hours, but I enjoy being able to delve more deeply into the storytelling in a 2 hour format. So when we shifted back, one of the one of the big milestones was the Christmas movie, because no one wants to be told what to think or what to feel or who to believe in or what to believe in. But the wonderful thing about Martha is she doesn't shy away from expressing her ideas, some of her ideas of faith, and you have to respect her for that, and being a part of that kind of passion. It's infectious. It really is.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite moments in the film that you mentioned, the Christmas movie, when I had a feeling that it was an angel, And when Oliver comes to the realization that it was an angel, I completely lost it. So I was that's the one that touched me probably at least as much as anything else that I've seen from SSD.
I mean that storyline has always intrigued me. I don't know if you are a Wim Wenders fan, but Wings of Desire was, still one of my favorite movies to understand what, from a completely different perspective. Some would say subversive, but I just think it's more of a completion of the whole ideal. And starting with It's a Wonderful Life in my sort of recollection, what whether it's I can't remember his name now. His guardian angel, goofy, bulb-nosed old man, coming along to inadvertently save George Bailey from himself. It's really wonderful. And in fact, there isn't a day that goes by because I'm along this brook here a lot, and the banks flood quite often. The trees have had to adapt in such an odd way. Their root system goes out along the rocks, and that whole piece in the movie about is the rock holding on the tree, or is the tree holding onto the rock. Pervasive. I mean, I can look out and see 3 trees like that. I've photographs of tree roots acting like tentacles of an octopus. It's really uncanny. It's pretty fantastic. Anyway,
Nature is amazing. Which is, again, the more I learn about you from all the different interviews that you have done and what I read, the more it became funny to me of the difference between Eric and Oliver. You love nature, you want to be in the woods. Oliver did not, at least not that he recalled until his conversation with Dan. So,
it's true. And if we had a longer timeline,
yeah.
Having his father, having Joe take Oliver out into the woods was, crossing into new territory for him. And I think in a long enough timeline, he would do more of that, although perhaps not because of the way that trip ended up.
Well, he's alive. Joe's alive. So I think it all worked out well in the end. But Oliver.
You have to have Gregory tell that story when we I'll never forget it. When we were shooting the scene where he injures himself, which is he gets punctured by a tree limb.
Yeah.
When we were shooting the scene, he slipped and there was a broken branch and he stabbed himself on the branch. I mean, it certainly was not the severity of what was portrayed, but he really hurt himself.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was, I mean, yes, it's okay to smile and giggle because we smile and giggle about it now. I was talking about that last month when we were shooting the newest movie.
Greg, again, you're most welcome to come on the show. I have lots of questions for you, and now this will be one of those. Thank you. I appreciate it. Listen, Eric, thank you so much for coming on. I know you're busy, and I'm really grateful for me.
Thank you for sitting down, Alan. This was fun.
Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in into another I cannot talk anymore. Episode of Let's Dive In. I know you love it as much as we do, and we'll see you next time with some guests that I haven't announced to you yet. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye, everyone.